Hello, and this is Tagore or Dominic, as some of you know me, and welcome to my brand new podcast, The Digital Humanist, which focuses on empowering our lives, improving our lives through the use of technology. Technology has evolved over the years, over the decades, with starting with the little invent of spreadsheets and word processing, and then went on to social media, and then came the introduction of cloud and Bitcoin and AI and IOT. And we have all used these technologies in our professional capacities on the work front to improve and to streamline what we do. But that got me thinking, can we, because we as humans are always saying, oh, I wish we could improve this, I wish we could improve that, and we tend to do nothing about it. Okay. And it got me thinking is, how can we use technology to improve ourselves, our personal selves, be it as parents, as siblings, uh, be it to empower kids, be it to help the elderly, be it to help Mother Nature. That got me thinking, and I was hooked onto the idea. So, welcome to the first ever podcast of Digital Humanist, and I'm so pleased to have somebody who I am very honored to call my friend. He's my neighbor. We live in the same condo. We have known each other for the past 11 years. We have worked on things like a little web series called How We Can Be Better Fathers to Our Children. He genuinely is a man who I look up to be a better father. I look at him how to empower children. I look at him at how to care about Mother Nature and the whole climate thing. And he doesn't just talk about it, he actually comes up with solutions. So, Ash, welcome to the first ever episode of my podcast, The Digital Humanist.
Glad to be on board, Tagore. And if I may, thank you for that introduction. And I just wanted to make two comments. One was that I think you inspire me too. So for all the things that you do, and I think this is the relationship that we have where each of us try to be better, and then through that experience, we motivate, we inspire, we give hope to each other. So thank you for that. So it's not just me, it's you, it's us, right?
Thank
And
you.
the other thing I wanted to just point out was that when you said that the first technology started in, when did you say that again? The first piece of technology
Oh,
was?
I was using word processors back in the early
Okay,
1990s.
word processors, right? So I just wanted to just stretch that definition of technology more, because really the first use of technology you can mark it to start way, way, way earlier. Fire could be one of the first examples of technology that made life better.
Yeah.
And if we look at something like fire, where everyone can understand how it can be used for good and can cause a lot of pain, and it really depends on who's using it and how it's used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ash, another reason why I wanted to start the podcast with you is because in your professional life, you have been spending I think more than a decade in the IoT field. Yeah. And what I really love about it is you've been working on the IoT field for the betterment of Mother Nature and for the betterment of our elderly society, right? So before we get into that, why don't you just tell our audiences a little bit about you and what you do in your personal and professional life, especially in the IoT domain.
Okay, thanks, Tagore. So, I wear many hats, like many of us. And I think the hat that you want me to talk about today is the hat I wear at work, right? So I work with this local company called iWOW. It's an IoT technology provider. It stands for Inspiring the World of Wireless. Okay? And essentially, most people know us as the maker of the Trace Together token that helped Singapore cope with COVID. It's one of the key pillars in our response to COVID. And we also have a solution that is used by the Singapore prisons that helps ex-offenders reintegrate back to society. And then we have a solution that's used by HDB that helps seniors who live alone stay safe. Yep. So these are different examples. I'll start with those three. We have other things that talks about environment and all that. If you have more time, I'm happy to talk through that more. But what I do in iWOW is I handle marketing, And I think to link it back to today's conversation, I think individuals, we believe we believe things strongly, and then we try to take actions in different spheres of our lives, whether it's with our families, whether it's our personal lives, and for some of us, it can also be in our work. I hope most of us do, because we spend a lot of time at work, right? So choosing the job, choosing what you do at the job, is another expression of what we believe. So in my case, I've been very fortunate the last 10 years, as you pointed out. I've had the opportunity to work with this really amazing, small but growing company in Singapore that I think is making impact in many, many aspects, society and the environment. So I'm a father of two teenagers, and they are
Lovely teenagers, if I may say.
Thank you. Yeah, you don't see the full side. I see the full side, so I would hold judgment. Yeah, but I love them a lot, and they this parenting journey, and I think Toko, we talked about that a lot before, has been one of the most important roles that I take on, and it has been the one that has inspired and has transformed me the most. Yeah, so every part of our lives we do things, and in the doing of the thing, we experience the good and the bad, and then we grow, right? So this parenting journey has been the one that I think has made the biggest impact on who I am becoming, who I am. The other aspect of my focus or things that I like to do a lot around is so I'm going to introduce something a bit different. I think I've never spoken to you about this part so much. It's in the space of I volunteer my time with a group called A Good Space. So that's the other hat I wear. We are a cooperative of change makers. So a few parts to that. One is that we are cooperative. So cooperative is a business structure that is quite unique. It is a company that's owned by the members. A cooperative is actually a democratic structure that owners are actually the operators of the business, and they own it. So it's shared ownership. So in this, it helps me in pursuing this other part of my passion, which is collaboration. How people can come together, and in the working together in a collaborative way, in a respectful way, in a almost compassionate way, we can create things that we cannot do alone. Through this working in a good space, it's really opened my eyes to different ways of collaboration. And then if I can just segue that back to the work I do in iWOW. So iWOW is a tech company, it's an innovation company, right? So I think the holy grail for me is to create innovation in a collaborative way. Yeah, and it can be tricky, because when you work closely together, you have passionate people who believe strongly in their own ideas. When you have them all come in the same space, magic can happen, but often also a lot of friction.
You've been doing a lot of work in the IoT. Let's touch upon that a little more. So tell me, what exactly do you do with IoT?
So IoT is a big space. In iWOW, we try to focus in a few areas. One is in making society safer.
Okay.
So looking for solutions solutions meaning hardware, software, and services combined that can make society safer, right? So example of that would be the Trace Together token, would be the prison tags that I talked briefly about. The other area is in elder care. So we're looking at making...
That. Yeah. Tell me a bit more about that.
So one of the challenges that we've identified in at least Singapore, and I'm sure globally, is the aging population challenge, right? So we feel that there is a big opportunity for us to introduce tech with touch, high tech, but still with touch, that can be key in helping us keep seniors safe on one hand, but also so that they can live life more fully. So that's the other focus that we have as a company, focusing on the elder care space and trying to create innovative tech that has touch, and then able to keep seniors safe so that they can live more full lives. Then the third area we focus on is the environment. So that's where we have solutions, smart building solutions essentially, that helps to understand consumption patterns in buildings and then find ways to be more efficient in the way we use resources like water and electricity. Yeah. So at the heart of it is a smart metering technology where we read electricity and water consumption, but then beyond that we layer other IoT sensors that helps us to make better sense of why buildings are using certain electricity more at certain times of the day. So temperature sensors, people counters. Yeah, so that's the other third arm.
Coming back to one of the use cases, so how does your IoT solution help the elderly?
What we have currently is a solution that's being used by HDB. They deploy this emergency button that we designed for them that's installed in homes of seniors who live alone. Low-income seniors who live alone, right? So these are rental flats. So what our solution does is that it's an emergency button that has an intercom capability built in, and it's designed to be battery powered. So it's very easy to install. You can put it where the senior needs it most. So for example, in the bathroom where the risk of fall is highest, or in parts of the home that the senior spends most time. So the big idea is that if you have a tool for seniors to activate very intuitively, it's not a high-tech touchscreen device, it's a simple button. So on the surface, it looks not intimidating to the seniors, but yet behind it, there's tech. And if you can imagine a device that's battery powered, and it has to last for many years, right? So, and then it creates this, opens this channel of communication with a call center that allows humans to connect with the seniors and then to help them with whatever issues they're facing. It could just be physical health. They could have fallen. They could be experiencing a heart attack or a stroke, or they could be just feeling lonely and they just need to talk to someone. So that's what we have, and we've recently tried. We're recently launching this product to consumers.
That's interesting, because even when you told me about this thing about the meter watering and the elderly thing a few months ago and years ago as well on the water, I've always been touched about this. But that brings me to my second question. Looking at IoT as a technology, is it going to go beyond just convenience, or is it going to help us foster better relationships, improve empathy, and just create a better social environment for us human beings?
I think it will, and it will, because that's the core purpose of IoT. IoT connects, right? So if I take a step back, the internet of people, what we are now using, people create content and we share content with other people, and then through that sharing of content, we feel a sense of connection. Whether you're in Singapore or you're in the UK, whether you're a father, so the connections are created through the sharing of content through the internet of people. In the same way, Internet of Things, machine devices create content and we are sharing content between machines. But what's the purpose of that? It's in service of people. And it's in service of connecting people. So I'm seeing that this evolution of technology will come back to the fundamental, which is the goal is to connect people, right? So then the balance is between high tech or high touch, because we still need touch. And so to answer your question, I think that's the end goal. We're now in a process of evolving that technology, and if we just keep remembering that ultimately it has to serve people, making lives better, it will then evolve to support that. So I'll give you an example, right? So the prison tag that I shared earlier. So on one hand, you can see that as a piece of hardware that limits and restricts freedom of the prisoner, of the ex-offender. Yeah. But if the motivation is not to limit and control, but rather to help them reintegrate using family support systems. So the same piece of hardware but designed with the intent to improve lives. We move that technology further from just being a cold piece of hardware to something that helps ex-offenders and their families break that cycle of offending, right? So, long answer to your question. I think it has to go that way because it's always been the foundation of IoT. IoT connects.
And I know, but how could IoT, and this is, you know me, I'm very big on this, how can IoT help with empathy? How can IoT help with us caring about people we don't even know? How can IoT help with climate change?
So, so if you look at IoT as a hardware piece of a sensor, then it feels very cold, right? There's no empathy, there's no emotions there. But if you think of the intent of technology, IoT technology, to connect people, and we use it that way, then that goal of connecting, creating empathy can be realized. I'll give another example with elder care. So, if we were to build that smart, that emergency button with just a button but without an intercom, then there's no human connection, right? But with an intercom, then you facilitate the opportunity for someone to speak to the senior, and then to have that opportunity for the senior to feel heard. Right? So this is an example where the intent is to help improve lives, and we know that it's a balance between high tech and high touch. Yeah. IoT can also be used in the elder care space where, IoT can also be used in the elder care space in that if you have information about your elderly parent and their health condition, that can create more opportunities for adult children to interact with their parents. So for example, if you have motion sensors and you notice that parents not moving or they're not leaving their homes as frequently as you thought they should, then that should create an opportunity for the caregiver to reach out, to listen, to talk, and to find out more. Yeah. So it's a mix of high touch and high tech.
Keeping aside the elderly, let's focus on our generation. And because I'm always worried, Ash, and I think so are you, about what sort of a world are we creating for our children? What are we leaving behind for our children? How do you think we've exploited like IoT within our professional lives, but how do you think our future generations are going to be using IoT in a more personalized way? And with that, are they going to lose the art of feeling and become so dependent on technology? Or will it help them enhance their human values?
So I don't think there's a one answer. Like I introduced earlier, the technology fire. Yeah, on one hand, it can create so much good. It can cook food. It can keep you safe. But yet on the other hand, if used wrongly in the wrong hands, it can cause a lot of pain. So same thing for IoT. I'm sure there will be examples where people benefit from it, and it brings communities closer together. And it also will have the potential of dividing and creating people who are more reliant on technology or hardware than they are with connecting people.
Is it wrong to be so dependent on technology just to have a better version of ourselves?
No. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's natural because we want to find a way to progress, and at one point, tech will be key in finding that path, that optimal path forward. So, for example, human intuition can find a way to be as efficient as we need to be sustainable. But powered by AI, powered by technology, the possibilities of finding that sweet spot where we don't overconsume and yet can still progress. And the balance between consumption and progress. So I find that a lot of times people think that there's no way to have a sustainable future other than reducing consumption and production. That means expecting a lower quality of life. Possibly in our limited human capacity, we cannot see another way, right? But I'm very sure that with AI powering our ingenuity, there will be other ways, right? That can still allow us to progress and have a better life for our children. At the same time, uh, ensure that the planet is protected. It's not a zero-sum game if you have the combined brain power of AI and human. Yeah, and IoT is part of the AI story.
You know, we live in a very modern city like Singapore, for example, which is very big and very high on the environment, on technology and community living and all of that, which is great. And I think we are depending a lot on technology. But that puts me back, like there's somebody's living in a village, right? More connected to Mother Nature, more connected to knowing their neighbors and whatever. And obviously, I can't compare one world to another, but that person's never going to know what IoT is, never going to know what AI is, and is going to live an excellent, beautiful life as just celebrating that human spirit of an individual. And I can understand why we, living in a modern city, need the help of technology, of digital technology, to be what I call the digital humanist. So it seems that we need technology now just to be human again. What do you have to say about that?
It is natural that as we move up, that there's moments where we need to consolidate and then make a little bit of correction, right? So if we, like an example here would be, as we progress as societies and we focus on material success, at one point we must realize that nature is important, and so we need to correct ourselves and enjoy nature, protect nature, right? So that's that correction, natural corrections curve. But to totally want the old way of life to come back, I think that is not possible.
Yeah.
The river's gone forward, you cannot come back, right? And so the next level will require something new. Yeah? And that something new can involve nature blending with tech, but that is for us to create. Yeah. In the space of the environmental space, at least in Singapore, I see a lot of emphasis now in bringing nature into buildings. Right. So that's I'm not sure if it's going to be a good thing 20 years later, but that is an attempt to find that balance. Yeah. And I'm sure tech would play a part in those new landscape where there's built environment with nature built into it, right? Yeah. So to respond, I think it's hard to turn back because it's not really possible. We moved forward already. There's new challenges in urban cities that if we go back to the old simple life, we won't be able to cope with the demands of that modern city. To make America great again, you cannot look back. You have to look forward.
Yeah. A last question. Again, how do you see somebody who's so passionate about life and people and kids and the environment, amongst many things that you do, marrying that with your expertise in the IoT industry for the past decade or so? How do you see IoT devices coming into our lives to help us with empathy, to improve trust between us, to protect our privacy, amongst other things?
I don't have a single answer to this, but I just would respond by saying that as issues like trust becomes more important in our society, and I think trust is a very important quality for collaboration. So if you want to create collaboration at an even greater scale, you will need technology. And technology that ensures that the different parties who are part of this enterprise can feel understood, feel safe, feel protected, so that they can co-create that project together, right? The enterprise. There will be some form of technology enabling that. Yeah. The exactly how and what form, I don't know, but I think technology has that potential. So ensuring that communication is valid. There's no AI deepfake. That content that you create is protected and no one can copy it. So all these will require, I'm not sure if just IoT, but there'll be some kind of technology solutions that will allow people to come together to collaborate in a safer way.
Yeah, but you see that, I mean, that's happening today. Like, and and you can see the Facebook guys and all of these social media guys, they're being summoned by governments because privacy and trust is a big factor. They're exploiting our information for marketeers. There are child abusers who are using these platforms. So I hope that IoT in some way or the other, or even technology on the whole, can help us overcome a very critical negative that I see with all of this technology creeping into our lives, be it IoT or
Yeah.
not.
So if the challenge is ensuring that information is used safely, then if there's some opportunity for IoT, some device that can physically control or prevent information used wrongly, and again, it requires, I don't have the answer there, but I'm just saying that there's this opportunity. And I'll give another example that I've already seen today. So in the environmental space, green credits are now
Yeah.
emerging thing, right? So carbon credits. So plantations that are being planted in, say, Indonesia, and they're supposed to be offsetting carbon footprint. How do you know if those plantations are real? Do you have to fly consultants in, auditors in every month? Or do you put IoT devices in place and they track the growth of the tree, for example? Yeah. So already, I think this is one example of tech IoT being used to create trust, because the carbon credits is a system that requires a foundation of trust, right? So in a similar way, in data privacy, I'm not sure, but possibly there could be applications for IoT. Yeah, I hope there is. Some companies like iWOW won't have other things to do. But the main point I would like to make is that as our human society evolves, collaboration will be even more critical, and there is a need to find ways to ensure that trust is protected. And I think that's where all the entrepreneurs and the inventors will come in to look at this challenge on how to protect trust so that people can collaborate in a more effective way.
So, who do you think are the big players in this domain in the tech industry? You think it's going to be Microsoft or Google or IBM? I mean, who are some of the big players, or are they little independent guys coming up and really making a change?
I think there'll be two parts here. First, the governments must put in regulations, and then that will incentivize entrepreneurs to create solutions to support that regulation, right? Innovation can often comes from outside, right? So the disruptor, or if the big boys recognize it enough, they have the resources to and the capability to make the solutions much faster. So I'm sure people like in Facebook, Google, they control information. So if they were trying to create collaborative platforms, cybersecurity is also a big part of that, I'm sure.
Ash, it's been great talking to you, especially on this platform. I know we bump into the lift and you usually get me out of the door on a Sunday morning at about 6 a.m. by the poolside. I don't know why I do it, but I know why I do it, because I have tremendous fondness for you, and I'm so glad that you were the first guest on my new channel, the Digital Humanist. I just hope that we can use technology and extend the use of technology, especially IoT, for the betterment of our planet, for the betterment of ourselves. Thank you so much.
And Tago, I think that's definitely the shared goal. And it's something that I think technology has always been doing. Whether it's fire, it's always helping move us forward. The only question is, how is it used? And so the focus that you have on this podcast to help the people, the people who are using technology to understand what's at stake and then to use technology responsibly.
Correct. Absolutely. That's a little better. And one of my heroes, Charlie Chaplin, said, "We talk too much and we feel too little." I think it's time, whether we use the help of technology or not, it's time to elevate that feeling within us. I think we've talked for too long about the world, about the children, about wars and everything. And I think we just need to feel a lot more.
Yeah. As a suggestion for your next topic, in the innovation process, the design thinking methodology is quite popular now.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this process, the design thinking process?
Yes.
Yeah. And at the start of it is empathy and trying to feel what your customers or your users are experiencing, right? So I think as long as you keep that design innovation process centered around empathy, the outcome will naturally meet what you are hoping to achieve.
Thank you, Ash.
Okay. Thank you.